Inspiration Restoration is a viewer-supported show. To learn more on how you can get involved and to watch extended ad-free versions of these videos, please visit our website, inspirationrestoration.com, and click the Patreon icon to support this show. Visit us on Facebook at fb.me/inspirationrestoration. Please subscribe and click the like button. Be sure to click notifications to be informed as soon as new videos are posted. We invite you to leave us your comments. Thanks again for joining us, and let's begin this episode. Welcome YouTube, and welcome to the Inspiration Restoration. I'm going to try to do something a little different this time. Now, you got to bear with me because I'm not used to this stuff. So I'm going to have a cheat sheet here, just so I can keep up with everything. I've had a lot of questions in the previous episodes, and I thought maybe instead of just writing them all down, I would just come on here and just put together what actually happened to the boat that took it down to begin with. In this episode, we're going to go back to the beginning and explain what brought us here. First off, let's clarify. I was not the one that owned the boat when it went down. I also did not sink the boat. Let me explain. In December 2017, Inspiration was purchased by the previous owner and used as a liveaboard until November 2018. In 2018, it was hauled out for general maintenance and repairs. 3 weeks later, it was set back in the water and set for its maiden test voyage to see if the repairs were done. The repairs weren't anything major, just needed a couple through holes done, needed the heat exchanger cleaned, and just some general maintenance things, air conditioning issues, nothing major. No reason to really suspect that the boat had any problems going forward from this point on. The captain had the boat put in the water, and out he went. Original intention was that he was going to go out past Hilton Head Island, and out to an island that was just off of the shore, and the whole trip would be about an hour. He went out, got to the island, turned around, started coming back. As he started coming back, he realized that the boat was starting to list. Unfortunately, it was listing bad pretty quickly. So he really didn't have enough time to try to determine what was causing the problem. So he put out an SOS and said, look, I'm going to try to make this boat into my home port. So off he went. You'll see some video that somebody actually caught as he was trying to make it into his home port. What's really kind of sad about that whole video is that somebody took the time to go ahead and videotape it, but nobody took the time to come render any assistance. That's the world we live in. So here's this poor guy trying to get back to port, realizing that I'm not going to make it. So what's his next choice? Well, we're at low tide. We don't have any good choices. So let's go ahead and try to beach her. So we still, the previous owner still thinking, let's try to get it back to our home port. But it just became apparent that he was not going to make it. So he picked out a spot and ran it aground. When he ran it aground, he had plenty of space. Low tide, boat was out of the water. Problem with that is that, unfortunately, that night was king tide. So what do you think happened? Water came up, came inside the boat. Boat was at least partially submerged, mostly submerged. Stayed down that night. The next day, they came in, they started recovery on it. They put airbags on it, tied onto it, tried to lift it. Boat was so heavy it pulled off a couple of the rear bollards and a couple cleats. They repositioned things. They started bringing it up with the airbags, and they got it lifted. And then they towed it back to the nearest boat yard, which was actually Palmetto Bay in Hilton Head. And that's actually kind of a curious story because Palmetto Bay, just back 3 years ago now, was completely destroyed in Hurricane Matthew. There's actually another channel right now that she's got a 56-foot or 60-foot constellation that she's been working on, and that was actually in Palmetto Bay during the hurricane, and it was actually grounded. Fortunately for her, it was grounded fairly bad, but they were able to bring it back off. Very little damage done to it, and she was able to get it up and going and back on her way. You can find her on a lot of the antique Chris Craft forums, and you'll see her YouTube that's out there. So shout out to them. In any event, the Inspiration was pulled into Palmetto Bay, and it was put on the Heart. Unfortunately for me, when they brought it in and they took it out, for whatever reason, they didn't do any type of recovery work on it, any preservation, anything. So they brought it in, they didn't clean it, they didn't do anything. Put it on the Hard, and there it sat. That would have been November of 2018. So as luck has it, I'd been looking for a boat. I've been wanting to do the Great Loop. I was on a search for a boat. I had actually bought a 33 Carver. I thought that was going to be my boat to do it in, and after I got it, I quickly realized it wasn't going to be big enough for that long of a journey. So I went through the winter of 2019 looking at different boats, and I saw this one come up in the salvage area. And it was kind of curious to me because I didn't know why they were parting it out. Or not parting it out, but why they were salvaging it. So I contacted the owner after a couple weeks going back and forth, got the details on it, found out what had happened, found out what kind of potential it had, and struck a deal. So in May of 2019, I went down, I took a look at the boat, did initial assessments, figured out what had happened to it, and finished the deal on it. So set my time to get the work done in June, and plan to put it back in the water in June of 2019. My original hope was that I'd be able to put it back in the water and let it stay in water to affect the rest of the repairs on it as I got it into a position where I could start bringing it back up to where I live. I live about 1,100 miles to the north, over in Illinois, up on the Mississippi, and that's where I wanted to get it back to so I could get working on it. So fast forward June 2019, and I went down, got into it, started checking out what had caused the failure. The failure was actually, or the sinking was actually due to a failure in the starboard exhaust check valve, I guess is what you'd call it. It's basically a flapper valve that's in the exhaust on the starboard side. Since this is a wet exhaust and the exhaust is at least partially submerged, what had ended up happening was there's some hose clamps, and I'll try to put some pictures of the valve here for you. There's some hose clamps, and these hose clamps go across the valve and hold the lid of the valve closed. And what ended up happening was one of those hose clamps, big 6.5-inch hose clamp, failed. Looked like everything, all the equipment was probably original from '73, and it just rusted out. It was bad luck. And so when the hose clamp failed, the top of the valve opened, and when the top of the valve opened, it allowed a straight shot for the water to come inside the boat. This was all located under the hanging locker on the port, or on the starboard side. Once that opened, and once the water started coming from the engine, it started putting water in the back of the boat. For probably at least the whole trip going out to that little island, he was probably filling up the water, but he didn't realize it. By the time he realized it is when that exhaust tube went under the water. Once it went under the water, then there was nothing stopping it. It was just a 6-inch stream of water coming in full blast. And at that point, again, had he known, what was going on. Maybe he could have jumped off, got down in the back, plugged up the exhaust, and saved it, but he didn't know. So, you know, he tried to save it the best way he could. So when I went down in June, what I did was I effected a temporary repair on that valve. I sealed that valve up because I had no intention of trying to get the engine started yet. I sealed it up and made sure that there was no way that that was going to fail again, and made sure that it was seaworthy. So I went ahead and had it put back in the water, and we transported it over to its new home port. On the way, unfortunately, once it got in the water, then I saw that it was leaking a little bit around the trim tabs. Nothing bad, but the more I thought about it, I just thought it would be smarter to get it out on the hard rather than leave it in the water and count on bilge pumps. So what I did was I took it back, got it on the hard. You've seen the videos for that. Started cleaning up the inside. Unfortunately, since they didn't do any type of preservation, all the stuff that could have been saved was ruined. So interior was basically gutted. We pulled everything out, pulled out anything that could rot, got rid of it, cleaned it up the best that we could, and then I proceeded to pickle the engines. So the engines have been pickling since June of 2019. It's now December of 2019. So that brings us really kind of full square. That's where we're at. That's what happened to the boat. Like I said, I didn't purchase the boat until after it already sank and after it already set for 6 months on the hard, waiting for somebody to decide what to do with it. Evidently, by the time all of the costs were incurred, the previous owner just didn't have enough insurance or enough willpower to redo the boat. So bad for him, good for me, because it's really a sweet boat. She's dirty, but after the cleanup, didn't look too bad. In future episodes, you're going to get to see what it looks like, and you're going to get to see some more work that I do and the progress that we make restoring this boat. I wanted to try to get this up before the end of the year because I'm leaving this weekend. It'll be right before the 1st, and I'll be headed down to Savannah. So I'll spend the next 10 days working on the boat. I'm going to see if I'm going to unpickle the engines. I'm going to see if I can get the engines turning over. With any luck, see if I can get them started. And I'll do videos of all that, and we'll update you as things happen. So we'll get the boat as far as we can, and we'll let you know what our next steps after that are. So thanks for joining in. I'm glad you found us. Please, if you like the video, cut me a little slack. This is the first video I've done like this. I'll try to get better as time goes on. Go ahead and hit the like button. Remember to subscribe. If you subscribe and hit the notify button, then every time that I post a video, it's going to notify you that they're up. Appreciate it, and come along on the journey. Hopefully we'll all enjoy it. All right, thanks.